We are honored to have Governor Malloy join us today and lend his support to the March for Change. While the governor has a long history of public service prior to becoming the mayor of Stamford, he served as a prosecutor in New York. As a former prosecutor, chief executive of a major Connecticut city, and now as governor, he understands the importance of smart, strategic initiatives to reduce crime and gun violence. It is our great honor to welcome Governor Dannel P. Malloy to the podium.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for getting on buses and driving cars and bringing friends and relatives. Thank you for the statements you've made before December 14th and since December 14th. Thank you for the love which you're actually expressing to your fellow human beings by your mere presence here today. You know, we're meeting in the capital city, Hartford, a city that over the last decade has seen 500 of its citizens struck down, most by the use of guns. Many of those guns, last time we could trace them, are to a gun show sale in Virginia or Florida or some other state. Clearly the time has come. Clearly the time has come that every gun purchase needs to be approved, needs to be tracked. If you can't get on a plane without having a background check, you shouldn't be buying a gun without a background check. We live in a nation where guns have become ubiquitous, and our sensitivity about protecting those guns, even keeping them away from children, seems to have melted away in far too many places and far too many homes. If you lock your door at night, you should be locking your gun up at night during the day when it's not used. Simple things. We need to hold people responsible for that. Just a few years ago in this country, it was illegal to have a magazine that carried more than 10 rounds. That was the law in this nation. The idea that a constitutional right to an unlimited magazine exists anywhere is a fallacy. And the fallacy is that we had that law, and that law was, in fact, enforced. It makes no sense, the distance we have gone since the assault weapons ban was allowed to expire. It has not made us a stronger union or a stronger community. It has not improved our lives. That is fallacy. What we are saying here by your presence and all of our presence is that we've got to change on a national level and on a state level. I think the President spoke poetically the other day in his State of the Union address. I, like probably most of you, thought that he would start with a message about what happened in Newtown and what has happened in places across our nation and the number of lives we lose on a daily basis to gun violence. I thought he would start there. But what he did was the right thing. He talked about all of the policies that we need to have a stronger nation, to have a stronger economy, to get people back to work, to protect people's rights. And then he came back to the issue which perhaps is so dear and so close to all of us here in Connecticut since the 14th of December. He came back to the issue about what are we going to do to protect our fellow citizens. What are we going to do to protect our children now that they're under open attack? And the message that he gave, I think in some senses, speaks to his frustration and the frustration of everyone here. When people will block an up or down vote from a common sense principle that is supported overwhelmingly by the citizens of the United States and by the members of the NRA. Something is wrong with our politics when we can't have a vote on what we know we need to do in this nation. When we are willing to take democracy and make it not work so that we can have our way, there is something wrong. And when that's over the issue of a gun, there is something greatly wrong with our country. Mr. President, thank you for your passion and compassion. I note that the NRA thinks that the Newtown effect will go away. I think you're right. It won't. But there's also another warning in this. Every day that we delay making common sense changes on a national basis is a day in which more innocent individuals will die because we failed to act. What's going to happen in this nation is that Newtown has forever changed it. The NRA cannot confuse people into believing that all gun sales should not be subject to a background check. They can't do it because the American people have seen what happens in place after place, in movie theaters, in airports, on streets in Hartford, on streets in many of our cities. We've got to change, and we cannot let what happened here in Connecticut ever be forgotten. We have to use it as our justification for making the kinds of change that we all desire seeing. We will not rest until we have changed America. We will not rest until we have changed Connecticut. We will not rest until we have done that which makes our children safer. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Governor Malloy, for your leadership and for working on our behalf to make legislative change in our current gun laws. I also